Everyone is looking for someone to blame, and that's gotta stop.
One of the most recognizable pop artists of all time, Janet Jackson is an icon in her own right. Despite her music being groundbreaking for breaking gender and racial stereotypes in the 90s and 2000s, most people seem to know her for her infamous Super Bowl halftime show in 2004, which is a sad example of a woman being punished for absolutely no reason. The reaction to the incident that occurred during the performance almost destroyed Jackson's career and largely got her blacklisted from the industry in a move that was blown way out of proportion. The event even spurred a documentary that was recently released about the vilification of Janet that spawned entirely from one wardrobe malfunction that almost cost her her career. Today we're covering Janet Jackson and her Super Bowl halftime show performance. Tomorrow though, well, I'd love to hear your suggestions, so please comment down below who you'd like to see on the next episode of Where Are They Now? And please don't forget to hit the like button so we know to keep making more content just like it. Okay, so this video is going to go a bit differently. I'll briefly explain Janet's early history, but I really want to get into the meat of the Super Bowl halftime show because despite being very young when it happened, I find it such a fascinating example of how the media reacts to sexuality. So let's get into it. Janet Jackson was born into the infamous Jackson family in Indiana, where her father was almost entirely withdrawn from her life. He focused solely on her brother Michael and the success of the Jackson 5. Being the youngest of 10 children, she was largely ignored and was told to refer to her father only by his first name. She got her start in sitcom television before her father led her into the studio, and she released 2 bubblegum pop records stylistically similar to the Jackson 5. After her second album, she broke away from her family to make it on her own. Upon leaving the family, Janet changed her lyrical style into one that more closely resembles her music today. It was risky and had tons of crossover appeal. Through her own work, Janet shot to stardom, completely separate from her brother Michael's success. As her career progressed and her fame rose, Janet became known for her provocative music. She sang and wrote about taking charge as a woman, and some of her hit songs, like Nasty, were about standing her ground and allowing her sexuality to not be a shameful part of her womanhood. Her style was eccentric and had mass appeal from both black and white communities, much like her brother Michael. Now let's fast forward to the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show and set the scene for the infamous performance. Janet was the first singer on stage. She did her set, it went great. Then Nelly and his crew sang about it being hot and telling women to take their clothes off, all while cheerleaders are provocatively dancing around him. Then P. Diddy performs, it's all going great, and then the finale happens where Janet Jackson comes back to send off the performance, and in the final moments of the show, Justin Timberlake comes onto the stage and together they perform Timberlake's hit song, Rock Your Body. The final line of the song says, quote, "That'll have you naked by the end of this song." Then, as he's singing that final line, the two performers move close together and Timberlake rips Janet's shirt and exposes her breast to a crowd of millions of people. This moment, where her breast was on display for about half a second, sparked a wildfire that would remain with Jackson to this very day. The cultural impact of this moment was a lot larger than I initially thought too. The founder of YouTube even stated that he started the video platform because of the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction, and he noticed that people wanted to rewatch the video to see what happened, but had no way to do so because there was no video platform to view it on. The moment sparked an international debate about how families wanted to watch the Super Bowl without being exposed to lewd content. It's fine though when P. Diddy is telling women to take their clothes off, that's no problem. But oh my god, there was a real human for half a second on TV. It was so big that the White House issued a statement on it, the FBI was investigating it, and the FCC launched an investigation against CBS to see if they were in on it as some sort of publicity stunt. Janet herself in interviews stated that it was a stunt, but that it went way too far, and her whole breast was not meant to be exposed. Janet stated that what was supposed to happen is Timberlake rips off her shirt, but there was also supposed to be like a bra shirt thing underneath, and was going to be this whole provocative Janet Jackson style teasing thing that she did. Not a lot of people believe this though, and thus Nipplegate was born, a conspiracy theory that the whole thing was planned. The FCC chairman himself stated that, quote, "Clearly somebody had knowledge of it. Clearly it's something that was planned by someone. She probably got what she was looking for," which refers specifically to Janet Jackson and completely ignores Timberlake's involvement in the stunt. The FCC fined CBS, the company that aired the Super Bowl, $500,000, and this enraged the CEO of CBS so much so that he became solely intent on blacklisting Janet and destroying her career. She wasn't allowed on MTV, VH1. She was wiped from all CBS-owned radio stations, which was a much bigger deal in 2004 than it would be today. She was almost entirely destroyed by the blacklist, and despite her new album being received positively, it failed to reach any chart success. Now, in regards to whether or not it was planned, it's to this day pretty much impossible to get a clear answer. But whether or not it was planned doesn't really matter, because even if it was, certainly there was absolutely no way that Janet expected her career to tank the way it did. So much so that she never fully recovered from it. The whole incident also almost entirely ignores Justin Timberlake's role in the supposed stunt. Despite him being the one to rip the breast cup off, he was never blamed for the incident, let alone suffered from it. A New York Times article reported it as, quote, Janet Jackson flashed one breast in front of the largest television audience of the year in the Super Bowl halftime show. It entirely omits Timberlake's role in the incident, and as far as the media is concerned, he had no role at all. It implies that Janet was the sole agent, that she was the one to expose herself. It entirely forgets that Timberlake was the one to rip her shirt. Janet herself said that all of the emphasis and media attention was on her and that Justin wasn't blamed at all. Now, after all of Janet's apologies and shame, where she became literally the most searched thing on the internet, and that's not a hyperbole, the exposing incident involving Janet is the most searched thing ever. If we fast forward past the incident, past the initial outrage reaction of the media, Janet slowly starts to retreat into private life. She is forever damaged by the incident, and despite releasing music, she's largely maintained a shroud of mystery. Fast forward again to early 2021 when the Britney Spears documentary is released about her conservatorship. Justin is mentioned in the doc as someone who was more so a witness who did nothing to help Spears as she was pulled into the controlling legal agreement. In response to the documentary, he tweeted, quote, I am deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did nothing to speak up for what was right. I understand that I fell short in these moments and many others and benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism. I specifically want to apologize to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson both individually, because I care for and respect these women and I know I failed. And now in 2022, a two-part documentary about Janet Jackson's life was released that has finally brought her own opinion to the forefront. She said exactly what I've been thinking this entire time, that the whole thing was blown way out of proportion. No one cared when women were dancing in bikinis or men were singing about naked women, so why is a breast such an insanely big deal that led to the destruction of an incredibly talented woman's career? While relaying the incident, Janet had no ill thoughts towards Timberlake. In fact, she advised him to stay silent so his career wouldn't suffer either. She took the blame, and in a phone call to Timberlake after the accident, Janet recalls saying, quote, listen, I don't want any drama for you. They focused all this on me, so I said if I were you, I wouldn't say anything. 1 decade after the incident in 2014, the FCC chairman admitted that the whole thing was blown way out of proportion, and he stated, quote, in reality, if you slow the thing down, it's Justin ripping off her breastplate. Which, while I'm happy to know there's someone sane in the FCC who acknowledges how stupid the whole thing is, even if it is 10 years later, you really don't need to slow down the footage to know that Justin Timberlake was the one who ripped her shirt open. It's not like they needed extra footage or to analyze or hack the system to see this. It's a half-baked non-apology that destroyed the woman's career. To this day, CBS has not apologized or made any mention of the incident, even though the Super Bowl invited Janet back to perform, to which she declined. And that's that. I wish I had more time to go into the incident because it's genuinely extremely fascinating. It was such a non-incident that completely changed everything about American culture and led to the very creation of YouTube. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and please subscribe to this channel for more content just like it. I've been your host, Sierra. Have a great day.